Hi, everybody. I'm Carol Ann, and I'm the president of the Robbinsville Democratic Club. Thank you for joining us. EJ?
Hi, I'm EJ Geiger. For those of you that don't know me, I'm the president of the Point Pleasant Beach Democratic Club. So this is my first meeting as president this year.
And we are having a joint meeting of our clubs because it's fun. It's really nice. I've been chatting with Georgia over the last year, basically, figuring out ways that we could support each other in the work that we are both doing in our towns. And we're really glad to be able to sort of coalesce over this guest speaker from Voter Choice New Jersey. And I'm really happy that we can have this evening. So hold on. So here is our very pleasant slide that I spent time making, so I need to show it to you. Hello. All right. And if you want to take yourselves off mute, we can say the Pledge of Allegiance. So I'm going to stand. You can if you'd like. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Welcome everybody. The way this meeting is going to work is we are now, each club is going to do updates from their clubs, their officers, some county and committee and municipal people from Robbinsville maybe here, I know are here. And we also, but first and then we're gonna have our guest speaker. First I want to give some time to Assemblyman Wayne D'Angelo from our district and see if he has an update for us, and if he's here to say hi. We're happy to have you.
Hi everybody, good evening, and hope everyone is well. Just to introduce myself or reintroduce myself to those that know me, Wayne D'Angelo on the Assembly. I've been there for 13 and a half years, representing the 14th Legislative District. And the great thing about the General Assembly is that we get to run every other year, which is fantastic. I say that a little facetiously, but it is what it is. So a little bit about myself, for those that know, I live in Hamilton Township. I've been there the majority of my life, except for the short stint for about 4 years. My father uprooted us and took us to Rutland, Vermont, where I spent my middle school years and got to see a different part of the country for a few years. But I am an electrician by trade, graduating Steiner High School. And more importantly for me, I am the union electrician, the quintessential union representative individual. I'm the president of the Electricians Union, president of the Building Trades Council, and president of the Mechanical and Allied Craft Council, which represents kind of all the mechanical-based trades, electricians, plumbers, pipe fitters, HVAC people, etc. So a little bit of myself on the legislature. I'm Deputy Speaker of the General Assembly. I've been that for a few terms, which I get the privilege and once in a while to run the meeting on the floor, which is a privilege and an honor, and it's something that I wish everyone can see through my eyes and get that opportunity. It's fantastic. I chair the Utility and Telecommunication Committee for the state, vice chair of Military and Veterans Affairs, and just this term I've been put on the Appropriations Committee as a member. So again, next month I'm probably going to tell you what I'm going to touch on, some things that are important. Things that are important on the technology side is the 5th generation of wireless, the obstacles that are out there that we're hitting, and the growth and the potential and how it really interacts and changes things on a day-to-day, and what is 5G, right? Kind of the basics of it. Next month, I'll also like to touch on our electrical grid and the stability of our infrastructure. The problems that have been tossed before me, the proponents and opponents of the legislations that have come through and passed, and the importance of it and why, and the arguments that have taken place, and what we generate, how much electricity we generate, where it's from, where we're going, and give everybody an opportunity to scratch their heads a little bit, and then what other things I'm working on. It's not just about generating electricity and utilities and all that. It's about efficiency programs that we're working on now. And to wrap up, we just voted out and finished the legalization package for marijuana. Cannabis, however you would like to describe it, and some of the pieces of legislation was the most recent one that was voted out. And unfortunately, in the legislature, sometimes for the greater good, you have to vote for something that you don't like part of. And working right now to remedy a bill that was just passed the legislature and signed by the governor. And I'll give everyone a brief explanation why, because as a parent, I didn't like the internals of it, but in order to get the vote to pass it out, we had to do what we had to do, fortunately. So with that being said, I look forward to talking to everyone next month, and I'm going to run to the 11th district, which is over in Monmouth County, and join Assemblywoman Joanne Downey, as she has me there as part of her guest to be for her event tonight.
All right. Thank you
I'll
so
see
much.
Okay, I'll see everybody next month.
See you next month. Thank you for coming, Assemblyman D'Angelo. See you then.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right. So EJ, would you like to introduce yourselves and do your officer reports? And
Yep, my vice president is on his way. He'll be here in 2 minutes. So I could just give a quick synopsis of what's been going on right now. So my name is EJ Geiger. For those of you that don't know me, I am the newly elected president of Point Pleasant Beach Dems. This is my first meeting. I'm joint running, luckily, so I have a great assistant in Carol Ann showing me the ropes here, and my wife, of course, who was the president last year. Just real quick, going on in our town right now, the things that I want our group to pay attention to right now is a couple things that are going on in town, guys. For anybody who didn't go to the meeting last week, well, let's first renewal of club memberships. For everybody that sent it in, thank you very much. I think everybody on this Zoom has. There's still a couple people we're waiting to see. Probably going to make some calls to see whether people are still going to be around and joining us that I haven't heard from. The Democratic mailer's gone out. We have some of them out. What we did in town, Carol Ann, was we had a list of all of the registered Dems in town, and we made little postcards that we sent out to them. And it looks kind of like this on the front. If you can see that, we want you to join.
That's
there it
gorgeous.
is. And then a little on the back, we had just a little bit about the club, when our meetings are, encouraging people in town who are not part of it to come out and join to try to build up some club membership. We felt it was a nice, easy thing to do, nice and, quick and easy. All we had to do was put labels and stamp them, try to build up some membership. Because we are a small town. We only have about 4,500 full-time residents. And there's only about 600 or 700 that are registered Democrats. So it's a uphill battle sometimes, but we did really well. Tom's on his way here. The last election this year, we garnered over 1,000 votes each in our bid for council. So considering there's only 600 to 700 registered Dems in town, we thought we did pretty well. And that was without being able to go door to door, just all through mailers and things in the paper. The club improvement questionnaire is still out there. If anybody hasn't done it, if they want to, they can. Our couple things we have going on. Hopefully, we're going to be doing our lake cleanup. Want to start with Lake of the Lilies, maybe. I figure in April it'll be nice and warm, and we can tie it into Earth Day, which is April 12th. So I'm looking at Sunday, April 18th. I'll get some times together, see if we can get some gloves together. I might be able to get some litter picker-uppers from my job. We have them where I do the highway cleanup, so we don't have to bend over as much to pick up any trash that's out there. At the council meetings, a couple things that have been going on. The two big things right now are everybody in Point Pleasant Beach, I'm sure, knows the Amethyst Hotel on Arnold Avenue. A couple of weeks ago, they put out in social media big design plans of what they want to do with it. I was kind of like, wow, that's weird. Where did this come from all of a sudden? And then at the last council meeting, the town brought up an ordinance to either buy the property or, if that fails, to look at eminent domain to take the structure. So I'm sure it's going to get pretty heated at the next couple of council meetings. So if anybody's really interested, I mean, personally, if they want to purchase it and they can get it bought, I would definitely agree with that. They do need to upgrade it if they're going to keep it. But I don't think it's not blighted. I don't feel, at least, where it's an eminent domain issue. So, this could get kind of interesting at some of the next meetings. And then the other big thing in town right now is they're going to be paving and replacing the water mains on Arnold Avenue and Ocean Avenue. So they sent out letters to everybody saying that you have to redo your curbs if they're not up to code. And if you don't do it, then they'll do them, but put a lien on your house to get the payment for it. So that's a couple of the big things that are going on in town right now. And that's it. Tom, I don't think has joined us yet. He's our vice president. I can introduce him. And Lightburn, if you want to wave and say hello, unmute yourself, say hi, and give just a quick treasurer report. You're muted, Ann.
I got
There you go.
Okay. I think right now, hi. I think right now we have about $1,500
Good.
treasury. And
Thank
hopefully we'll be beating the bushes and get some more members. So we'll see how, Tom, have you seen, EJ, have you seen anything in the post office boxes of people wanting to join? Any feedback or anything?
No, not the last time I went up to the PO box was, I think, Friday,
Okay,
or it might have been Monday. It was either Friday or Monday, and there was nothing there.
okay. So if you keep us updated, if anybody's sending any sort of information or whatever.
Of course.
Great.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay. Tom Davis, who's there, is our secretary.
Hi, EJ. Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. EJ, I just kind of wanted to add on that there's also quite the big push for the downtown historic district.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Tom.
Which is worth mentioning because
Yes.
for so many years, we've had so much emphasis on the boardwalk. It's kind of nice to see somebody wanting to pay some attention to downtown and revitalizing our businesses there.
Yep. If anybody from Robbinsville wants to, it's going to be a nice day Tuesday. We're doing our Shamrock event. Whereas you come down, I think it's a couple of bucks to get into it, and there's prizes hidden around downtown, and then they're going to have a bagpipe competition thing at the local brewery that's right in the middle of town afterwards. So it's like noon to 2 p.m.
On what day?
on Saturday, the 13th.
It sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah. They did something similar on Valentine's Day, and they had, I think, over 200 or 300 people coming to downtown to take part of it. So they did little drawings on the sidewalks in front of the stores to show the love for the local merchants. So
Yeah, we've canceled our us and neighboring towns have canceled our St. Patty's Day experiences because we're, they're doing the healthy thing.
Yeah, it's
trying
kind of
to
like
keep us-
there's not a lot of people and it's so spread out that they're still promoting the social distance with it, but it's getting
Yeah.
people out and to come into town.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think Tom Brennan is now here. You want me to
Yep.
spotlight him?
Brennan just joined us. He's our newly elected vice president. He was also my running mate for town council last year.
That's awesome. I'm going to remove my spotlight. Tom is not yet connected. Oh,
No,
you
I'm
should be-
connected.
Oh, good, good.
Start video. There I
There
am.
you are.
Handsome devil that I am.
So we were just introducing ourselves, Tom, as his officers and saying anything that we thought was going on in town that needed to be brought up to the club. Tom brought up about the downtown revitalization going on. I talked about the Amethyst Hotel, motel, and the curb replacements.
Okay. I think the biggest issue is the one you mentioned. Well, there are two issues: is how they intend to handle the parking, and then the hotel. And the hotel guy had me up until he started attacking liberals. So I'm going to let him fight this on his own.
So, yeah, I don't know who his backing is, but I did notice some of the names from the boardwalk at the last council meeting, so.
Oh, yeah. Well, they appear to be running the town right now.
Yeah,
So,
but that's all we've got for now, guys. So I'll let Carol and her group introduce and chat.
Thank you so much. I'm gonna pull up my my executive board, who is all here. Where's Scott? There you are, Scott. Scott is our vice president, and you want to give a little vice president report, Scott?
Sure. Thank you so much. So first, I just want to say, I think it's absolutely fantastic that. Hold on a second.
No, you're not muted. You're good. We can hear you fine.
My daughter told me I was muted. She knows this stuff better than me.
No, he's good. I wouldn't let your dad go wrong, Ileana.
No, exactly. No, that cat video with the Zoom really hits home for me because I know that could happen anytime here. But yeah, so anyway, I just want to say I'm really excited to be joining forces with the Point Pleasant Beach Dems tonight. It's really wonderful to collaborate with other Dem clubs, in Central Jersey and across our congressional district. So just want to give you a warm welcome. And I also just wanted to thank everybody in our club who participated in our recent successful anti-racism forum. We had great numbers, a large number of people came, a lot of local leaders, people from outside the club. The speakers were great. I found it to be very informative, and just wanted to say we could not have done it without the enthusiasm and passion of the group for this particular issue. And in terms of speakers, as you heard, we're lucky enough to have Assemblyman Wayne D'Angelo, who's going to be speaking to our club next month. So if you have any topics or points of concern you want me to bring up with him that he can speak on, please let me know. That's for April. And then beyond April, May, basically we don't have any speakers beyond April. So May throughout the summer is open. I have a list of your ideas and which I'm going to be going through at our next e-board meeting. If you have any other ideas that you haven't brought up or want to be part of the conversation about, what sort of speakers or collaborations you think we should do, especially, with the recent anti-racism forum may have inspired some more ideas. So please come forward and talk to me about that. And that's all I have.
Awesome. Thank you, Scott. And Melissa.
Hi, I'm the secretary in Robinsville for the Dem Club. I don't have too much to update. I'll just echo everything Scott said about the forum. I think it went really amazingly and we've gotten such great positive feedback about it. And it was really interesting to watch and be a part of. So hopefully that'll be the first of a few different ones that we'll do. last month for Black History Month, we highlighted different Black-owned businesses in our county and nearby, and that was very well received also. So we're hoping that we can partner with some of those businesses going forward and help them and publicize them and that sort of thing. I think that does, I mean, I don't really have much else to report on.
Okay, thank you so much. I'll give the treasurer report. We're looking for a treasurer. Marina, who is our initial treasurer and got us all set up, has needs to step out, and so you'll be getting an email. Our Dem Club folks, Robbinsville folks, will be getting an email giving a description of the job. We're hoping to have the replacement person in place for the April meeting. This is an appointed position that will take us through November when we have our club officer elections for president, vice president, and president, secretary, and treasurer, secretary and treasurer. We have our Muni chair here with us, Sonia, and I'm going to spotlight her so that she can give us an update for municipal and county things. Hello, Sonia. You can talk. You are not even muted anymore.
Hi. Sonia, I am the Robbinsville Democratic Committee Chair. I've been in this position for a number of years. I've been a Robbinsville Democrat since way before the club. I can just say that I am really, really proud of all the people in the club and all the work that they've done to help to have the Democrats have a voice in Robbinsville, because for many, many years we didn't even have that. So I'm very appreciative of all the work that they have done and really proud of them. It's been inspiring. As far as the committee goes, we have a convention coming up. Our Mercer County convention is coming up on the 18th, and we have 20 votes within that convention. So hopefully all of our voting members will participate and make their voices heard. There is one contested commissioner seat. It's very important to fill, and I think we all need to vote on that, as well as the other positions that are up for vote. That's pretty much all that's going on committee-wise right now. So I will turn it back to you, Caroline.
Thank you. Hang on. And we were able to fairly quickly put together a Meet the Candidate forum on Sunday morning, and a good number of the committee members came, and we recorded it and we posted it. We have a YouTube channel now, by the way. I know, right? We're so hip. So that people can more easily find our videos. And that was almost not even a problem to set up. Very, very convenient. Okay, so I would like to now turn our attention to our guest speaker and Veronica Akazoe. Yes, did I say it right then? No.
Close. Akazoa.
Akazoa.
Yes.
No A at the end. Akazoa. Okay, I apologize. She is from Voter Choice New Jersey, and we're really very excited to have you here. I'll read her bio. Veronica is a New Jersey native and ranked choice voting enthusiast. So are we. We love ranked choice voting. We really do. At Voter Choice New Jersey, she leads the Speakers Bureau, a team of self-described, extroverted, slightly nerdy speakers who talk to organizations throughout New Jersey about ranked choice voting. She has a bachelor's degree in communication from Rutgers University and a master's degree in economic and political development from Columbia. Previously, she's held management roles in research and data analysis at companies you might have heard of, CNN and NBC. Recently, she pivoted to a career in public policy, where she focuses on innovative approaches to policymaking that increase government transparency. We like that too, and enhance citizen participation. also a favorite. She's eager to talk with us today about how ranked choice voting works and ways in which it improves serious flaws in our current electoral system. So, and without further ado, we will hear from Veronica, and we end at 8:30, so we'll probably want time to talk at the end, so take it away.
Yes, that will be fine. We should have plenty of time for the presentation as well as questions. I am attempting to share my screen.
I did not make you co-host. Let me do that.
Okay.
Hold on. Veronica, or co-host. Yes.
All right, let's try it. All right, can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So first, thank you for the introduction, Carol Ann, and good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me, Robbinsville Dems and Point Pleasant Beach Dems. I'm Veronica Akezua. I'm here on behalf of Voter Choice New Jersey. We are a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization, and we're dedicated to providing information about ranked choice voting and promoting its adoption in elections held in New Jersey. Now, from what Carol Ann was saying, it seems as though a lot of you are familiar with ranked choice voting. So, you know, this may be a summary of what you already know, but for some, this, I hope, is also an education opportunity. So I want to set the stage by first telling you what ranked choice voting is. It's a good place to start. So ranked choice voting is a new term, but it is exactly as it sounds. Voters rank their candidates on a ballot in order of preference, and that's rather than choosing one candidate, which is the way that we elect most of our officials into office in our various elections today. And the other feature about ranked choice voting that is distinct from the way we currently vote is that a winner must get the majority of the votes, and that's at least 50% of the distribution of votes. So why are we talking about ranked choice voting now? And that's the question that I'm going to answer through this presentation roadmap. First, I'll talk about the problems and the flaws in our current election system. And that's the one that we use in the majority of our elections in the United States today. And through that, I'll highlight the benefits of ranked choice voting, and you'll see how it improves some of those serious flaws from our plurality voting system. Next, I'll show you how ranked choice voting works. So we will actually count ranked choice, we'll count votes under ranked choice voting, and you'll see how simple a voting method it really is. And then last, I'll talk about the growing ranked choice voting movement. It's a lot of ground to cover. I'll say that there's one thing I'm hoping everyone can take away from this presentation, and it's that ranked choice voting really empowers voters. And in doing so, it changes the incentives that shape the way our elected leaders lead. So let's start with the problem. So in the United States today, most of our elections are determined by a winner-take-all, first-past-the-post plurality system. And so for simplicity, we'll call it plurality voting. And it's when a citizen only gets to vote for one candidate. And the candidate who gets the largest portion of votes is the declared winner. But this system has some serious flaws. For one thing, plurality voting limits your voice because you're forced to choose one candidate when there are often numerous candidates running. And so because you're forced to choose one candidate, your opinion about one candidate only gets heard. Now, if you think about it, we use ranking to make decisions or express opinions in a lot of areas in our lives, right? And we do it naturally. We rank restaurants, we rank movies, even family members. And so, you know, similar to all these other examples I brought up, you probably have a range of opinions about multiple candidates, and you'd like to express those opinions at the ballot box. And so one of the benefits of ranked choice voting is that you can raise your voice, express your opinion about more than one candidate, and you do that by ranking your vote. And so here is just a sample ballot. I believe this was a sample Maine ballot. And we like to say, you know, you get to rank your first choice. This is the candidate that you love. Your second choice is the candidate that you like. And the third choice is the candidate that you can stand. And that's usually how we describe ranking your candidates. Another flaw of plurality voting is called the spoiler effect. And the spoiler effect is actually something many of you are aware of. If you are aware of the 2000 US presidential election, then you are familiar with the spoiler effect. And so in that election, you had George Bush, Al Gore, and Ralph Nader, who ran for president. You had two frontrunners, George Bush and Al Gore, who earned around 49% of the vote, virtually tied. And then in a very distant third was Ralph Nader, who earned 1.6% of the vote. Now, although 1.6 seems insignificant, it translates to 97,000 votes, which is many more votes than the difference between George Bush and Al Gore. And so some exit polling of Ralph Nader voters was done and found that if Ralph Nader hadn't run in the race, about 26,000, a quarter of Nader voters would have voted for Bush. But the lion's share of those voters would have voted for Al Gore. And so what we have here is a candidate who did not win, which was Ralph Nader, who divided a lot of the other candidates' support, but namely that would be Al Gore. And so for this, Ralph Nader was dubbed the pejorative term of a spoiler. And so we know that with Nader in the race, George Bush won, but without Nader's participation, Al Gore would have won. And so the outcome of this election, had there not been, this is kind of just focusing on plurality voting and ranked choice voting. We won't bring into it all the legal battles. This is a hypothetical, of course. I'll state that. But the point is that the outcome of this election would have looked much different under ranked choice voting. Because even though Ralph Nader, who had the least amount of votes, would have been eliminated, his voters' second choices that we saw in this slide before would have instantly gone toward George Bush or Al Gore. And because a majority is needed to win the election, Al Gore would have won instead of George Bush. And so we see here how ranked choice voting really finds where the true majority of the electorate lies in their preferences for candidates. It doesn't punish additional candidates that may run for office, right? Instead, it finds ways to consolidate those similar preferences and similar candidates. And as you can see, the spoiler candidate, Nader, in this case, only needed a little bit of support to really sway an election. And this happens again because plurality voting only lets you choose one candidate. And because you only pick one, voters are forced to divide their support among similar candidates. And this is called vote splitting. And the spoiler effect doesn't only impact election winners, it also affects how political parties think and have attitudes about other parties. For instance, third parties or independent parties. But not only that, within a party, parties are concerned about many candidates perhaps running on the same ticket in a primary election, for example. And that is because, again, there is a fear that similar candidates will take votes away from a potential strong candidate or winner. And what happens then is that a lot of parties will discourage many candidates from running out of that fear. And they do this so that they, will have less competition. And that's not great for the parties, and that's not great for the voters either, because when we have a large when we have a large field of candidates, these candidates can bring new ideas, new perspectives, they can resonate more with voters. It helps to prevent some of the inter-party factions that you may have as well. And so voters can really suffer, and the party can suffer if they're not able to have as many choices on the ballot. And the spoiler effect is actually it's the same problem as strategic voting, which you may have heard of. And what strategic voting boils down to is a question of this. If your favorite candidate is unlikely to win, what should you do? And you may say, well, how would you know whether or not your favorite candidate is unlikely to win? Well, there are many ways. There's a lot of media polling that is done that predicts what the larger population and electorate, who they will vote for and support. And so then that influences your individual consideration for who you may support yourself, because you would like to, of course, have a candidate, you would like to support a candidate that you think has a shot at actually winning an election. So we can use the 2020 Democratic presidential primary as an example here. This was the largest and most diverse primary in political history. And we had a wider range of ideas, policies, demographic representation in the candidates running. Yet strategic voting, or the candidate who had the best odds of being a front runner, weighed heavily on the primary voting decisions of moderate, liberal, and progressive voters. And so, you had a lot of folks who supported Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders, and Joe Biden as well. But because, Joe Biden was really the candidate that was predicted to beat Donald Trump, many people who may have preferred Elizabeth Warren's policies or to the rest of the candidates, or Bernie's perhaps, may not have voted for those candidates because they wanted to, have pick the safe vote in Joe Biden. But other voters may encourage those individuals to stay with, you know, one of the other candidates and actually vote for one of the other candidates that wasn't Joe Biden. And so a lot of voters have a conflict, you know, and they don't feel as though they should be forced to choose their favorite candidate over a strategic win. Now, of course, there are many factors that go into who we consider to support in office. But the fact is that this kind of a dilemma, do I choose my favorite or the person who can win, is really a lose-lose for people. And again, we see ranked choice voting comes to the rescue because you don't have to be a political strategist. You can vote for whoever you like, and you have backup choices in case your top candidate cannot win. So you can support all three of those candidates that I mentioned, and not worry that you may be doing the irresponsible, you may be making an irresponsible move from a political party standpoint. All right, so we've covered a lot of the flaws in plurality voting. So why don't we take a look at a hypothetical ranked choice voting election and see how it works. So we begin in this election by counting the first choice votes only. And then we check for a majority winner. Now we see here in this election, we've got candidate A, B, C, and D. And just from the first round of vote counting, candidate A has 55% of the votes, which means that we have a majority in the first round, and that's it. Candidate A is the winner there. We are confident that this system found the true preferences of the majority. And so that's it. So what happens if there is no clear majority? And in fact, this is the case in most of our elections. So we do the same thing again. This is now a hypothetical vote election 2. Now we counted the first choice votes, but we see that no candidate has reached the 50% threshold. And so what we do is we eliminate the candidate with the lowest share of votes, that's candidate D. And the important distinction, though, is that although candidate D is eliminated, candidate D's voters are not. Their second choices go instantly, you know, to those candidates. We see here that the 5% of candidate D was distributed between candidate A and B. There is still no majority of 50%. And so we do another round and we repeat the same thing as before. We eliminated candidate C, who had the lowest share of votes, and candidate C's choices, second choices, were instantly counted for the remaining candidates. And in round 3, we see that only 1% went to A, but the lion's share, 19%, went to candidate B. And so we reached a majority in candidate B in the third round. So they are the winner. And I'll just point out that in our first example, candidate A was the winner, but in our second example, candidate B was the winner. And I'll point out too that if we look at the color coding in this example, we see that the purple candidates, B and C, add up to 50%. So we're trying to demonstrate here that ranked choice voting really found the winners that were more aligned in policies. And so the candidate that won was actually one that represented more of the electorate's policy preferences or, platforms, et cetera, rather than candidate A with 40, candidate A and D that added up to 45%. So now, you've seen how ranked choice voting is a pretty practical method. It improves some serious flaws. It eliminated the spoiler effect. We had many candidates running, and although some candidates were eliminated, voters' votes stayed in play for quite some time. And so what you end up with is voters not feeling like they have to waste their votes on a candidate that can't win. People feel they don't feel as left out because they actually have more influence in the election winner under this system. So it really is an improvement to our current election system. Let's see. So ranked choice voting is also not some new fad. It's been around for a very long time, even in the United States. Cambridge in Massachusetts actually used it. The town of Cambridge used it, I believe, beginning in the start of the 20th century. But over the last 100 years, it's really picked up in the US. I apologize, this map is a tad difficult to read. We're gonna have to make this a little clearer for folks. But if you look at it quickly, you can see that ranked choice voting is implemented in some form for local elections, city elections, municipal elections, to some degree in all of these states. Now, most notably, Maine was the first state to use ranked choice voting on a statewide level in 2018. And as you probably know, they used ranked choice voting in this previous general election. And another state to highlight would be New York. New York City, not state, but New York City implemented ranked choice voting with overwhelming support. I think it passed with 73% of support from New Yorkers who vote. It was a ballot initiative. And then separately, ranked choice voting is also used in over 20 cities. It's, I believe, 25 now, throughout the state. And ranked choice voting is used around the world. It's been used in Australia and in Ireland for over a century. And these are some of the other countries that implement ranked choice voting. And, it's really picked up as a viable improvement to our current system. And it's because a lot of the citizens or the electorate in these areas where it's implemented are happy with it. And they have all, for the most part, embraced ranked choice voting, and places that don't implement it are seeing that and thinking it can really solve some challenges that we addressed before. I want to mention that ranked choice voting can be used for single winner races like a mayor or a governor, but it can also be used in multi-member races and districts. Councils at large, city councils at large, et cetera. To go back to the impact of ranked choice voting and why it's so, why a small improvement can have such a big impact is important. One major benefit that cities that have implemented ranked choice voting report is that it has increased campaign civility, or another way to say it is it's decreased toxic polarization. And we all know that toxic polarization is a major problem in the United States today. All political parties agree that the rift between each other is growing. And so to have a system that can help minimize hyperpartisanship is really important. And so these findings were based on, I believe, Rutgers, actually. I have here an Eagleton poll, and I think that Rutgers actually deploys that. And so they did a lot of polling to find that there was a lot less criticism and negative campaigning in cities that implemented RCV versus ranked choice voting cities that did not. I should have mentioned at the beginning, often we'll abbreviate ranked choice voting as RCV. And so if you wonder, well, why is it that ranked choice voting has minimized campaign mudslinging? And the reason is that with ranked choice voting, it really changes the incentives for politicians in the sense that politicians want to choose a strategy that will increase their likelihood of winning. Now, with ranked choice voting, you are competing for not only voters' first choices, but their second choices and their third choices. So it actually behooves a candidate running to find common ground with other similar or maybe even slightly dissimilar candidates because they don't want to alienate voters from considering them for a second or a third choice at the ballot box. So candidates consequently have to appeal to a broader range of voters in order to win. And so candidates have more of an incentive to reach across the aisle, to build common ground. Otherwise, they risk alienating opponents' supporters. And I will touch on two other studies that focus on electoral outcomes that are improved under ranked choice voting. So one of those is increased representation for women and increased representation for people of color. I won't go into these studies because I want to make sure we have time in the rest of your meeting. But quickly, you'll see that in comparison to cities that didn't have ranked choice voting to those that did enact it, we see double-digit gains in representation for women and people of color winning seats in city council. This was for city council, both of these studies. And these studies were done in California. Quickly, why? Why did ranked choice voting benefit women and people of color? It's really because it discouraged negative campaigning and kind of easy, cheap shots. It focused more on the substance of what the candidates were actually running on. It helped also to avoid the vote splitting that will often happen when you have multiple candidates on a ticket. So before maybe having more than one type of candidate, woman or person of color or whatever, it could be ideology based too, a healthcare platform. Those voters were likely to split between those candidates. But now with ranked choice voting, you minimized that and actually prevented that from happening. And then another reason is hypothesized. These again are all hypothesized. Another hypothesis is that we put a lot of stock as individuals and voters into, again, the idea of strategic voting. Well, who is our idea of a person who can win? And often, unfortunately, it's not thought that women or people of color may be as popular with other voters. Or again, you can take another idea like the environment or healthcare, right? It's of course not just based on demographics, but psychographics as well. So people may think, oh, well, others are not going to think that this is a candidate who is actually capable of winning. So that explains that. So this is kind of where I'll end. And that's with our, call to action. We would love to connect with anyone here who wants to get involved in this exciting movement of change. So Carol Ann, I apologize, I didn't ask this in advance. Would you mind if I dropped our URL for folks to sign up in case they're interested in, volunteering? That would be great. We're also on Facebook and Twitter. And so we'd love for you to give us a follow, interact with us. And we would also love to work with you in the future, perhaps, programming, events. We're really excited and we want to get RCV, ranked choice voting, passed in New Jersey. So thank you for having me. I would love to take questions if that's part of the program. And
absolutely, we have time for questions.
Okay.
Before we go to questions, I do want to acknowledge that County Executive Brian Hughes is here. I don't think he's on camera, and I don't think his mic is unmuted, but I do want to acknowledge that our county executive is here. I had neglected to acknowledge his presence earlier because I didn't notice, and I'm sorry again. So ranked choice voting, we actually choose ranked choice voting. We chose ranked choice voting for our very first club elections, which I thought was, because we wanted to see how it worked. And I know that our county our county convention this time last year used ranked choice voting. And we thought it was kind of really cool and really great because it gave us a chance to sort of see how things shake out. Have you helped organizations or townships who want to convert from sort of this binary choice voting, winner take all thing, to ranked choice voting as their own way of doing things?
So far, we have not yet, but that is absolutely part of our plan. The more that we can normalize ranked choice voting, the better for the organizations or clubs, the better to show our elected officials that people are used to ranked choice voting. They're used to the idea, that they like it. And so really one of our strategies is to normalize ranked choice voting. As I mentioned in the presentation, we rank so many different aspects of our lives. Why shouldn't this be the case in other forms of group decision making? And so to answer your question, not yet, but we would really love to work with organizations to do that.
That's awesome.
And I love that you've already used ranked choice voting. And were you pleased? You were pleased with it, or what did you think?
What do you, Scott, did you have something? I thought it
Yeah,
was
no,
great.
I'm a huge believer in it. And of course, yeah, absolutely pleased with the result here within our own club. And yeah, it's definitely the way to go. Yeah, it's very clear.
That's great.
When you're counting votes, it's pretty easy to see in a traditional voting model. It's okay, this person goes in this pile, this person goes in this pile. I'm sure that there are systems that automate the ranked choice calculation so that you don't have to keep coming back to people to vote.
Yes, that is exactly right. So I cannot remember which software, election software company launched the software to be able to count ranked choice votes automatically and efficiently, but there was a software company that did, and so it's been used in a few cities, and so there will be a bit of a game in terms of, well, we have the software, but now are the machines updated to be able to support the software? But there is software that was created. And so what a lot of our research team is actually working on is looking at the ballot machines and upgrading those machines. And that's where a lot of our focus is now on the implementation side. I will say that I believe it's in Ireland, a lot of the communities in which ranked choice voting is used make a whole event out of it for their elections. They have a bit of a fair and count the votes. So I thought that was pretty interesting. That sometimes it's preferable to do it manually. It seems it would take a long time, but you know, the community in which it's used would have the option hypothetically to do that.
Okay. I could see that the dual push for early voting and the use for secure drop boxes that we saw this last year, which we hope will, of course, continue because it increases voter engagement by not forcing people into one day to cast the majority of the ballots, plus the ability to rank order your choices can lead to a sense of investment. Even though you didn't get your first choice, you got maybe your second or your third choice, and that there's something there that really can be there for everybody. Mm-hmm. So any other questions or comments?
I see there's a question in the chat.
Is there a concern about voter confusion resulting in delays at the polls? Which I guess, yeah, that's from you, Sonia, which is why I asked the question. I think we were asked about the same time, is there software to quickly tabulate all of that so that there wouldn't be any confusion?
Well, actually, even less than confusion at the tabulation stage is people going to the polls and having a ballot that asks them to rank things. So like you were stating, that there are a number of states right now who are implementing these voter suppression laws, which is just sad. But people, you know, we've seen long lines. We don't really experience that here so much in our town, but in a number of places there are lines, and God bless these people for standing in line for hours to exercise their right to vote. But I'm not saying I'm against this. I'm just saying that would that ranked voting, introduce a level of confusion that is going to add even more time to people at the polls? It's going to take them longer. if they don't have an opportunity to do it in a more kind of relaxed way, having early voting or by mail voting?
It's a very good question. It is one that is, it's a pretty primary question. And absolutely there is concern about voter delays. Voter confusion is less concerning because a lot of the municipalities that have implemented ranked choice voting have done research and polling to understand whether voters found ranked choice voting easy, confusing, general thoughts about it. And overwhelmingly, surprisingly, a lot of people didn't report confusion. I will say that I think it does depend, though, on a few different factors, whether or not voters will find it easy or confusing. One is going to be, what is the ballot design? So there are various different ballot designs, and the one that was reportedly the easiest was one I showed in the presentation. It was kind of those radio, I think they're called radio buttons, those kind of circles. And people found that the easiest format to use. About being educated on ranked choice voting, there would need to be a significant educational push in conjunction with ranked choice voting. One thing I will say is that Voter Choice has thought about how a ranked choice voting design could be used as a solution to abolishing the county line. I'm not sure if you folks have worked on that. And it's one ballot design that a lot of the major parties like, but a lot of voters do not like it. But again, this is nonpartisan. I'll just say it's a nonpartisan initiative that we have. It's just something we've considered. If the line was abolished, then ranked choice voting could be used as a ballot design. And then delays at the polls are concerning. Yeah, I will say that is concerning, and especially if there's no software in these municipalities, that will be something that needs to be addressed. I don't have a better answer.
Okay.
I hope that's helpful.
Yes, thank you. County Executive Hughes, I see that your hand is raised. Did you want to contribute to this conversation? Oh, hold on. We'll ask you to unmute.
Am I
Hey.
unmuted?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I just wanted to say that a lot of people who come up through a party line, they've spent time in council, and they've spent time in party building, and they spend time in city council and county council, and have worked hard for the line, for the purposes of the line. You know a little bit about them. You know where they came from, and you know what their feelings are and where they are on any particular subject. And I'm wondering, in ranked voting, do you get the opportunity to learn that much about a voter whom you've heard really not that much about before you vote for them?
Yeah, to answer your question, ranked choice voting doesn't have to be in place of the county line. It could be there could be a ballot design that incorporates both. And so more so, I was trying to highlight that ranked choice voting as a ballot design could be flexible, could be more flexible with kind of either way, maybe an issue like how parties or candidates are grouped today is designed. Is there a way? I think there could be. I don't know if there's a lot of research on that. I know that in general, our citizens need to be more informed about politics in general, local politics. So I think that with ranked choice voting, there might be more urgency and priority by others to want to invest in more of that education in general.
I think too, in towns where there is no primary because it's a nonpartisan town, say like ours, and it's this vote is our only chance to vote for our councilmen or our mayor or our town leaderships. Having ranked choice voting actually may help us because we don't have a primary vote at all. This is our one shot. And we may have that ability to have a little more nuanced discussion and also cut down. I really like I kind of want to delve more into understanding how ranked choice voting actually diffuses hyperpartisanship and forces people to be nice to each other because you want to get their down ballots if they're close. I like that idea a lot. And so I'm thinking, which made me kind of wonder, and yes, Melissa, I see your question. Are there any municipalities that actually in New Jersey that you know of that use ranked choice voting, particularly bonus points if they are nonpartisan towns?
I do not know. There are no municipalities in New Jersey that currently use ranked choice voting. But you know, I can get back to you. Our executive leader in ranked choice voting is releasing our strategy probably in the next week or two. And she does talk about some of the municipalities that have had maybe similar methods to ranked choice voting in the past. And she is also talking to a few municipalities that that may be interested in doing like a mock ranked choice voting and are very interested in it. So not any right now.
Okay.
But we're going to change that.
I see Melissa's question from a little bit ago. She noticed that on the map, there are a good amount of states that allow military personnel to use RCV. What is the argument behind allowing it for this group and not all voters in that state?
That is a question that is a good one, and I do not know the answer to it, but I will jot it down and I can get back to you.
Okay. I like this idea that we're going to have another conversation.
Yes, I will follow up. I'm good with that.
And sorry. Yes, Scott, go ahead.
Does Rocky have a question? I don't want to jump ahead.
Well, there was a statement in there, but if you have a question, we can go ahead and reach back to her statement.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say I really thank you for coming, and I am actually a huge believer in ranked choice voting as well as abolishing the county line, really for the simple reason that it gives voters better representation and a more significant voice. I am proud to say that the Robinsville Democratic Club has actually endorsed the resolution for a fair ballot from the Good Government Coalition to abolish the county line. So I guess my question is on a state level in New Jersey, what is the path to establishing ranked choice voting, and what are the main obstacles?
Okay, thank you for your question. So at the state level, statutes don't allow for a statewide ballot initiative. So ranked choice voting will have to be introduced and passed by the New Jersey legislature. And so that is that's like our long-term strategy. So first, we're going to be looking at seeking the right to get municipalities and maybe even counties the right to adopt ranked choice voting if they desire, and allow citizens to petition for that right. That is like the short-term focus, is to allow by petition citizens to adopt ranked choice voting at the municipal and county level, and then shift to state and federal elections, which would involve collecting petitions by district and then organizing a grassroots lobbying campaign. Our executive leader, again, will be releasing a kind of a more detailed strategy. And so I'd be more than happy to follow up with you all when we do have that.
Thank you. That's wonderful.
And so in the chat, I see Rocky put something. Do you want to give it voice, Rocky, or shall I? You still here? Okay, go ahead, Rocky.
Sorry, I had muted myself.
Good, that's fine.
So there is a confusion. There is a confusion in many different ways, but I did notice when it came to that particular election, people were reaching out saying, but I'm friends with this one person and he's such a great guy, and how do I vote? I don't want to vote for his people. I don't know them, but who do I vote for? And it wasn't clear to people. You can vote for 3 people, any 3 people you want. So obviously this is a great example. This makes sense. It makes so much sense. And I just had to throw it out there for my Robbinsville people who were there.
Right, so that slates don't mean that you actually are required to vote for the whole slate. You can pick and choose from among the people on the ticket or on the ballot. Yeah, and that is just voter education is a big thing. So I know that Robbinsville sort of monopolized this discussion. Good, EJ.
Quick question. Like our town is very just one party. With this system, are you allowed to say, hey, I like this council member and he's one party, and I like this council member and he's another party? Can you split and go, one person may be a Republican, one person, your second choice may be a Democrat, and so on down the line?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting.
It sounds like that would be a general election allow, but
Yeah.
not a primary.
General election,
Yeah.
Just because I had many people, even when I was canvassing, were like, we really like you, but, we're Republicans and we just, we have to vote that way. But if I could vote for you, I would,
Yeah,
I'm wondering, because if there's a Republican that they like, they could vote for him, but then they could vote for the, their second choice could be the Democrat instead of another Republican.
I have to say Carol Ann is right about that being the
It would be a general election.
An allowance for general election. Yeah. Yep.
Speaking of our primary, this is our pre-primary election coming up in our county to choose who is going to get the endorsement from the county. County Executive Hughes, do you know if we'll be doing ranked choice voting at the convention? We did last year and it was super fun.
We last year?
Yep.
I guess we will do it in whatever fashion our great chair decides us to do it.
Okay.
And I know that she is having and maybe ranked voting is easier over Zoom than not. I know it would be harder in our machines if we were to do it. But if she did it last year, I would assume she's doing it this year.
All right, I guess we'll find
And
out.
that's all I can answer for.
Thank you. I see, Sonia, you have your hand up. What's up?
I was just looking
good.
while thing. So it looks like in 2019, Andrew Zwicker, Assemblyman Andrew Zwicker from the 15th in Princeton, in that area, he actually introduced a bill that for ranked choice voting in New Jersey. I don't know the results of it. I'm assuming it didn't pass, but who knows if it may still be an active bill. But if he did it then, perhaps, you know, he's somebody that we should, he's not, in fact, he does represent part of Mercer County through Princeton. So we do see him occasionally at our conventions. So perhaps he's somebody that we can have a conversation with.
Absolutely. Yeah, that would be a strategy. We haven't, Voter Choice New Jersey hasn't specified how we will approach some of the politicians more directly yet. I'm interested to see what our kind of organizational strategy will say about that too. But I think that's a great inroad and makes a whole lot of sense. So I'm on the same page.
That's awesome. Hey,
Yeah.
Terry, I see that your hand is raised, Terry. What do you want to say?
Actually, I was messaging you that Andrew Zwicker still supports ranked choice and is saying that he is supporting ranked choice. So I think that's really positive.
That's good. See, why is it always the Democrats that have like super fun things that they want to do to make, you know, God forbid, voting more democratic?
I think it's great too. And it's going to be hard to sway politicians, you know, candidates who have benefited from, you know, the current system we're under. But there really is a lot we can gain as, you know, as a party, but also as voters through ranked choice voting. So I hope that some politicians do see the value. It's a principled approach.
Yeah. So thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us. This has been really, really enlightening and really amazing. Is there anything from Point Pleasant Beach Dems for the good of the group that you want to say before we go? When is your next meeting? So we can crash your meeting.
Our next meeting is we do the third Monday of each month.
Oh, excellent. So you're even off cycle with us. So thanks for doing that. I really appreciate that.
This was really nice. Thanks for inviting us.
Yeah, I thought it was very, very good. And sometimes it's hard to get speakers as a small group. So I think, you know, when we get interesting speakers, you know, it would be a good thing because you can say to the speakers, hey, we're going to have, you know, 20 people or 25 or 30 people instead of 10 or 12. And it might encourage some of the speakers to come out, you know, and take the time a little bit more.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. So our meetings are second Wednesdays. So feel free to come on over. You can follow us on Facebook. I think you guys have a Facebook page too, right?
We actually just got somebody that's going to help us
Fantastic.
do a little bit more with it than what we do with it.
Yeah,
I meet with us next week and give us a little class on what you can do with it because we really don't utilize it nearly as well as we should, I'm sure.
It's actually been a game changer for us. Hello, Kitty. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Thank you so much, Veronica. This has been really, really amazing.
I don't know whose idea this was, but I wanted to thank them. It was a very good evening.
think it was a mix of Georgia and Carol Ann's, I believe.
All
I think
right.
so too. I think Georgia made the first outreach and we just kind of kept missing until we actually landed on this particular thing. And I'm really glad we did. So thank you very much, everybody. Have a great night. Be safe. And hopefully we'll see you again.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you again, Veronica. Thank you. This is really, really great.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye. Good night.
Good night.